Edgarai, tu matai, kiek žmonių čia šiandieną susirinko?
Absoliučiai neįtikėtina, visiškai pilna sausa salė. Labai faina, kad jūsų čia tiek atvarė ir mes patys su Roku tiesiog negalim patikėti, kad galų gale mes šitos žmonės galėsime jums pristatyti ir turėsim nuostabų pokalbį, kurio gale, aišku, galėsite ir užduoti klausimus mūsų svečiams.
Kolektyvas, kiek iš jūsų čia yra žaidusių KCD2 žaidimą?
Opa!
Let's go! Nice!
Brangieji, aš noriu tik tai pasakyti, kad su garsiausiais, stipriausiais aplodismentais. Pasitikite, McKay ir Luke Dale! Well, damn. You got the microphones right there on the right, guys? Yeah. Here you go.
Cheers.
Well, we got the full house here.
What an amazing turnout. Literally, we just came around the corner and we were like, oh, it looks quite busy. It looks incredibly busy from up here. So thank you all so much for turning out. What an impressive view this is.
I was like, is Roger Clark on the stage? Is that why everyone's here?
Yeah.
Not
Sorry guys, he's not here.
Well, you guys are the superstars here, so we're very happy to have you here, really.
Thank you for having us.
So, let's begin, I guess.
Yeah, any first impressions of Lithuania already? I know you guys came here yesterday or today. This is your first time here, right?
Yeah, first time, and it's really calm. I went for a run this morning before the con, and obviously the weather wasn't great, but very British weather. But it was just really gentle and calm, and the people have welcomed us so warmly. So that's it. Calm, gentle, and welcoming would be my 3 words.
Yeah, we haven't seen Lithuania at all. We've just been in a cab to here. But everyone has been so sweet and, yeah, so lovely. So thank you, genuinely.
There you go. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about the game. KCD2 now has been out for about 4 months. How has your life been, like, these past months? Is it all like rainbow, just having interviews, just meeting fans, and
Chaos.
that's all? Chaos, really?
Yeah. I mean, in the best possible way. But, like, it really did go from 0 to 100 in, like, overnight, didn't it? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think the strange thing was that you go, before we could talk about the fact the game was happening, which was for quite a few years while we were making it, it was kind of like our little secret. And then we had about a year before the release of the game where it had been announced at least, but it was this kind of like snowball building that was getting faster and faster and bigger as it approached. And like huge expectation from the community and within the studio itself. But obviously none of us actually knew for sure. The studio are amazing and incredibly talented, so they knew they were onto something brilliant. But no one knew that it would be this kind of monster hit that it thankfully has become. And then it's kind of erupted once it released, and the reviews were good, and more importantly, the fans' reaction was really good. So it kind of just validated everything that we'd hoped for until that point. But it's been crazy, hasn't it? Like,
Tom, as a matter of fact, you're an actor in real life. You've been acting in theaters throughout your whole career. How different was acting in Kingdom Come Deliverance, as you had to use the motion capture devices, costumes, and so on? How was it different from acting in theaters?
Well, it's a really good question because there's 2 answers really. The performance capture is not that different. It's very like theatre in that you're in a room that doesn't have a set to speak of, and you're in kind of funny lycra costume with dots all over it, and just your imagination essentially. So in that respect, it's very similar to theatre and to some extent similar to TV. But the voice, so that's the performance capture. But the voiceover is very different because it's like you in a room for hours and hours at a time.
You had like 200 sessions.
Yeah, it was over 500 hours in total over a period of about 4 years, I think. But what we would do, because I don't live in Prague, Warhorse very kindly were like, just come and we will like max out the time as long as you can vocally manage it, which I could. So I was doing 8-hour days and generally like 40-hour weeks.
By the way, most voice actors will do 4 hours and they're done. They can't do any more. Their voices are shot. Tom would do 8 hours in a day, which is unheard of. And I don't know how. So a round of applause for Tom for that. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
What happens if you just woke up on one morning and you have like a worse cold, or like your throat is like?
Luckily, that didn't happen. The one thing they did do was that they left what are called the barks until the end of the day. So any kind of shouting or grunting or all those noises that those of you who have played the game will know, those are quite vocally tiring. So we would leave those to the end. But actually, what was really the most challenging thing about the voiceover, because the performance capture is the cutscenes, and those are quite set narratively. So the character is relatively consistent, but obviously the players choose who Henry becomes and what kind of character he is. according to your wishes. And it's in the voiceover that I'm playing mostly those different iterations. So actually the hard thing isn't the sort of physical vocal challenge, it's making sure that I was always being really, really precise with those choices, so that if you've chosen to be like a thief and a bandit and you're kind of, a devious Henry, that I'm performing that in a way that feels real to what you've chosen. And obviously on the course of a day, you might bounce between like literally, tens if not hundreds of iterations of the character according to what you've all chosen. And the precision was the hardest thing, but also the most rewarding, because I've never done that in my TV and theatre work. You just play the same version of the character. And that was an amazing challenge that I hadn't expected, and I didn't really know existed. And was like probably the single most fulfilling acting challenge of my working life. So yeah, that was amazing.
Luke, in one of your interviews, I think you mentioned it was absolutely crazy as an actor, to see a canon for the first time. Because as a human being, you're seeing the canon for the first time and you're just seeing like this huge thing. Can you remember any more like memorable moments where you had to like act out your character and you had that, moment, well, this is gonna stay for me for the whole life?
I mean, for me, probably the biggest day on set for me was the bell that tolls, the bell that that whole quest where Hans, I don't want to spoil the game.
Yeah,
You've
no
all
spoilers.
played it by now, right? I mean, there's probably a few people on the first game, so I don't want to ruin it completely. But there is a scene where Hans, it's not looking so good for him, and that was really meaningful for me as an actor and someone who has played this role for so long, because it was such a big deal for that character, and the fact that even put that scene in meant that Warhorse really appreciate this character, and the stakes are so high that we might lose this character. So the room, I felt, was very heavy that day, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is tough." And it was a real turning point for me in my journey with Hans. But yeah, that quest was very special to me.
Guys, coming back to the beginning of KCD, I have a question about how were you approached in the beginning? How did people come to you and say, "Hey guys, we want to have you in our game, a medieval game," which was not known by anybody? I mean, that was a new game. So how were you approached in the beginning?
So for me, this came through my voiceover agent, which is very common even though this is much more performance capture, that's where it came. And it, like most auditions these days, they send you some information, though not very much, because secrecy is a big thing across all media, and a couple of scenes, and you record the scene at home and you send it off. And that's the end of it usually. And then after that, they said, "We'd like to invite you out to Prague to come for this days." I've talked about this before. I was never sure whether it was an audition or a workshop, like whether I had got the role or not. And it wasn't clear to me. They were sort of talking in terms that it was my part, but no one had said that officially, and no conversation had been had like on a formal level. So I was doing this like long rehearsal, and then towards the end of the day, we played with loads of different accents, among other things. So like moving around like British regional dialects, and we settled on this kind of West Country accent, which is the one that Henry has. And they were like, "Yeah, that's what we'll use. We're actually going to use those scenes." And I was like, "Oh, if you're using them, then I guess this is my role, right?" But so that was quite unusual, and certainly to work with them for such an extended period over a whole day. But what I did know by the end of that day was that I really loved the studio. It's an incredibly warm, again, I've said this before, but people use the word family a lot, but it is like a family. Really collaborative, really, obviously incredible on a creative level. And I didn't know much about gaming. It was about games. This is my first and only role within gaming. And I just knew by the end of that day that it was something I really, really wanted to do, and that it would, even though it would probably be for quite a big part of my life, I didn't know it would be 10 years for sure. I just felt this real passion and energy towards it, and luckily it went my way, and the rest is history. So,
yeah, for me, I just left drama school. I was about 21 years old, and was so green and inexperienced in the industry, and suddenly I was being flown out to Prague to read for this role, this bratty nobleman, and it was all very kind of overwhelming because I'd never done anything like that, and initially it was a self-tape where you film yourself, you send it off, and then they invited me out, and I flew out, and I sat with Dan Vavra and the top team at Warhorse and read this scene with them. And then Dan was like, right, welcome to the team. And I was like, holy shit. What am I getting into?
But Luke, as a matter of fact, you were planning on quitting acting at all.
Yeah. So quite a few years ago now, I'd had enough, because I'm sure everyone is aware, like, acting as a profession is the most precarious, like, unstable thing you could possibly do. And I didn't like the instability. I needed to be doing something every day.
Money-wise or work-wise?
Money-wise, but also just like, you don't have any power. Like, there's nothing you can do to get things going apart from like hope that someone gives you an audition, and you can take new headshots, like, great, that's, but like, you can go to workshops, but it's not going to get you any work. And I found that really hard, and so I shifted careers into filmmaking, and got some stable work doing that for years. And then while I was doing that, I got a call from Warhorse, thinking I would probably never act again. I was like, I'm done. I don't see how I would get back into it. I mean, no one's going to offer me anything. And they called me on the eve of lockdown in London before the pandemic. And they said, so we're going to make a sequel, and we want you to have a much more substantial role this time. Are you in? And I was like, yes, yes, I'm in. Yes, that sounds great. And then, we sorted that out. It took about a year to get out there, but then I was back in. And ever since the game coming out, I have agents again. I'm auditioning again, like I'm an actor again. So this game, and you allowed me to come back to the thing I love doing. So I want to say a big thank you.
We're super happy for you, really.
Wow.
For real.
Honestly, really.
I want to now, ask about all the secrets, even like making a video game, because obviously it takes a lot of time. Like these things take to development for a very long time. How do you keep the secrecy from your friends, your family?
Piles and piles and piles of NDA. I've never signed so much paperwork.
Because as I understand, you cannot really say anything that you're working on, right?
No, but I think what's helpful in some ways is that actually within the world it exists, it was a real conversation. But actually outside of it, it wasn't. And so where it was hardest was in Prague. So I was spending a lot of time in Prague, obviously before the second game had been announced. And there especially, people would really stop me in the street and be like, why are you here? And I'd be like, I just love Prague, I'm on holiday again, I just don't want to leave. And even there was a guy at immigration, I'll never forget, and he was like, why are you here? What's your purpose for travel? And I was like, work, I have to tell the truth because you're an immigration officer. And he was like, oh, what are you working on? And I was like, is this on the record? Like, what is the nature of this conversation?
I just really like Czech dumplings.
Yeah. But mostly, I think there was, I guess, an understanding. We have such a gorgeous, brilliant, bright, understanding and intelligent fan base. And so there was often a sort of twinkle in both the eye of the person asking and me, where it was like, I can't talk about why I'm here, but we both probably have quite a good sense as to why, so let's not talk about it.
Yeah. When regarding your dialogue and lines, do you have, how much improvisation was allowed, actually, Because obviously you have your scripts. Do you always have to stick to the script, or you might improvise something and just that thing that comes to your head?
There wasn't loads of improvisation. There sort of didn't need to be because it's so well written. What there was because as we got to know these characters better, I've never played a character for more than about 2 or 3 years, but I've played this character now for nearly 10. And obviously you then know that character better than certainly than any other character you've played, and almost as well as you know yourself. So there would be times where you might go, do you know what? What about if I framed it like this or used a different word? And Warhorse are incredibly collaborative. They would always say yes. But it wasn't so much like going off-piste and just making stuff up. Partly because you don't have the room to do that in cutscenes. They're sort of relatively limited in time. So yeah, not a huge amount of kind of random improvisation.
Yeah.
Getting back to the acting, what do you think is harder, capturing a very emotional scene on a movie, or capturing a fighting scene in a video game with motion capture devices?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, they're challenging in different ways, but I think the fundamental answer to all of it is that they're the same. Like, your job is ultimately just to be truthful and be honest. And even in the second game, we had head-mounted cameras, so these kind of big, ornate kind of structures around your head that had a camera looking back at your face so that they could record your face in real time. And those are really kind of clumsy and get in the way, especially if you're like fighting or if there's like intimate scenes, they can be really obstructive. But actually what your job to do is to just look the other actor in the eye, find a way to make it honest and make it real. And that is true whether you're on stage or whether you're on a set where there's cameras everywhere and you have to pretend those cameras aren't there. So fundamentally, whether it's like fighting or playful scenes of banter or whether it's like, you know, massively dramatic scenes where your parents have just been murdered and everything in between, the essence of it is exactly the same. You go, I'm just looking in someone's eyes if I'm with someone else in the scene and trying to make it as truthful as you can. And in a way, that's quite liberating because then it's all playing by the same rules, you know.
By the way, just a quick question. Were there any plans on capturing the bathhouse scenes?
Yes. Well, they were some of the most comic in the first, particularly the first game, because those of you that have played it will know that, and for those of you that don't, it's basically me and Luke sitting in a medieval jacuzzi drinking beer, and you can imagine the rest. But that was essentially just a load of chairs basically on the floor, because you don't need a proper set, you don't need all that stuff. So that was a lot of imagination and a lot of silliness. And we didn't even know at that point, did we, what it was going to be? Like, we didn't know what it was going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about that is that, you know, in the game it ends up you're in a bath and, you know, you're in these gowns and you've got beer, but like what we actually physically was like in a kind of scaffolding, like a metal scaffolding with these suits. And like, for me, it's the crucial thing is just getting over the obstacle that is how weird it looks and feels. And if you can, like, as an actor, use your imagination to put yourself where you're supposed to be, which is in a bathhouse, getting drunk with your friend. If you can do that imaginative leap, you're fine. Everything else is fine. But that's the obstacle in the way, isn't it? Yeah.
You had some quite good scenes where you both drank beer and got drunk.
We pretty much only had scenes where we drink beer and get drunk.
That's our whole thing.
But it wasn't like real beer, right?
No, it's these...
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Sadly. The props are quite hilarious because all they need is a couple of dots to be like a marker and then they animate it retrospectively. So actually what you usually have is like a big plastic tankard and there's this hilarious cupboard on the wall of the studio which is just full of like ridiculous props that don't need to be real or even look real. So it basically looks like a kid's playpen, doesn't it, with like toy swords and toy shields and stuff.
Do you guys yourself are like into video games? Do you like play yourself or no?
I've got much more into them. So I played a lot when I was younger. I used to play on a Game Boy. That's how old I am, for those in the room that know what that is. And then I didn't for a bit, and then this has massively reignited my interest in it. But same for you to some extent. Right?
Do we have anybody that watches my streams in the room?
Yeah, man, I am watching. Yeah.
Sorry, it's just shameless self-promotion right now.
No, man, that's good. That's good.
But no, for those of you that don't know, I streamed the second game. And the first game quite a lot, more so in recent months. And on Monday, I'm going full-time as a streamer.
Whoa, let's go!
Come join me, and Tom and I may be doing a little bit more together as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But
we'll talk about it.
We'll come back to that.
Watch this space.
But look, are you planning on playing any other games, not just KCD2?
100%.
Yeah. What kind of games are you planning to play?
Well, I'm going to have to check out our biggest contender for Game of the Year, Claire Obscure.
Yeah!
Because everyone's saying, you know, it's either KCD or them for Game of the Year, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to see.
That's a big competitor.
You know, let's see how they're doing.
So Andy Serkis and friends. How do we compete with Andy Serkis? That's David and Goliath country.
But yeah, I've got so many games I want to play. I keep starting games and then not finishing them because I had work, but now I've quit that job and I can just focus on this. So.
Do you have a favorite game that you...
of all time?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
KCD2, obviously.
KCD2.
A part of KCD2.
KCD2 is like my home. That's where I will always return. I don't know. I mean, I'm a massive Red Dead fan, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
That's an obvious choice. I mean, meeting Roger today was a bit weird for me. I was like, my God, I'm your biggest fan.
I met Roger in a lift early this morning, and I was like, you know, he is obviously gaming royalty, and we are but the newcomers on the block. And he is clearly the most lovely man. I think everything you see in the public domain is absolutely real, as far as I can tell. So what a pleasure it's been to meet him and the other guys this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talking about other video games, what already like established video game characters would you like to voice? Like, for example, if like the role popped up and you got offered the job,
Well, I do like to do a kind of country Southern American accent, so I like to be in something like Red Dead Redemption 3 if it ever came by. I wouldn't mind that. That'd be good.
Okay, but that's good.
What about you, Tom? What about you, Tom?
I would say because KCD2 and KCD are so rooted in reality, it's such a like naturalistic world, which is brilliant. I would love to sort of go to the other end of the spectrum and enter sort of Baldur's Gate type arena of like fantastical characters, and where the challenges are the same in terms of truth, but really different in terms of what you can be and how you can sound. And you know, I love playing characters that are really off-center and really different from me. And you generally don't get to do those kind of characters in TV and theatre. So gaming is sort of has a much broader imagination when it comes to those kind of fantastical worlds. So I would love to enter that kind of arena and see, you know, what kind of fun I could have there.
KCD obviously is a very detailed game with so many like historical facts and so on and so on. I just have a question. Do historians and developers work together on the game? Like, do developers actually ask the historians, like, for example, what do I put here? How does this thing should look? But were there like any disagreements? For example, the historians say something has to be one way, and developers say, sorry, but we cannot really put that because it's not going to work in the video game.
I think so if there were disagreements, and I don't know that there were, they would always defer to the historian. So the answer to your first question is absolutely yes. It's one of the things the studio was so sort of militant about, that they were like, this has to be rooted in reality. You know, Dan Barber, the amazing creator of the game, had this real commitment to authenticity in terms of what real people do, regardless of what period it's setting, but also authenticity in terms of historical authenticity. And so, yes, they absolutely have on-site historians, and I think that those people would almost have the power, if you like. So if a creator said, oh, I just want to have this like dragon come out the corner, they'd be like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any plans for KCD3?
Pass. Next question.
Next question. No, we have no idea. And you know what? The actors are always the last to know, to be honest. They tell us last. If they were doing anything, we wouldn't have a clue.
Obviously, you would not say probably, right?
No.
No.
Yeah, I get it.
Even if we knew.
But I probably can speak for all the fans who are watching us on the television, YouTube, or for all the fans here, but we're waiting for the game, for the next game, really. We would honestly love to see in any shape or form.
Go tell Warhorse.
Yeah.
Go tell him.
Yeah.
And obviously you have like big shoes to fill, because KCD1 as itself was a big game. KCD2 now just blew up. I think I saw just like news sold already like more than 3 million copies, right? Which is crazy. If you actually get to make the third game, the expectation is really, really high, right?
It is, but I think amongst all the things that Warhorse are brilliant at, it's one of the things is understanding their fan base and sort of subverting expectations. So they're really good at not necessarily doing the same thing twice. And so if anybody can kind of know what the best next decision is, they do, and they will make it. So in a way, it's so far above our pay grade, we don't have to worry about it too.
Yeah. No, they always get it right. Like they understand so well like that world and what people want. So I just trust whatever they have planned, it's probably going to be a really good idea. Better than what we could come up with.
Guys, coming back to the game, there is a lot of sword fighting in the game, right? Did you have to take some special courses in sword fighting or anything? Did you have to learn to use the sword, the bow, whatever?
So the thing about this is that because it's performance capture, they can get the real guy in who's like an actual combat legend to come in and be that person in our place. Because if you think about it, they'd to get Tom and I to become warriors, they'd have to spend a lot of money. They have to train us for a long time. I'm speaking for Tom here, but like certainly for me, I'm not there. So that's kind of the beauty of it from the studio's perspective, like that they can just get someone in to do that bit. I did do one fight scene, which is the bit in Božena's hut where I kicked the fuck out of that guy.
Yeah, in the beginning, right?
In the very beginning. Yeah. And that was me, so I was quite proud of that. And I used my stage combat skills that I learnt at drama school. How lovely. But thanks so much. But most of the time, if there's any seriously in-depth like fight scenes, we're not doing that, are we?
No, it's the same as TV. There's always like a sweet spot where you go, we did both do like combat training at drama school, so you have a certain level of ability. But obviously there's like a ceiling to what is safe and appropriate, and also what's going to look good. And that is the point at which the professionals come in and we go and sit in the corner and wait until they're ready for us again.
I always really want to ask you guys, voice actors, like, how do you come up with all the grunts and noises you make? Like, because I imagine you have to make so many of them, like excited grunts, sad grunts, like you fall, you run, and stuff. Is it all like scripted? Do people actually tell you what to say, or
they do? No, so you are for the whole thing, especially in voiceover. You're totally in the hands of the director, and so they're so brilliant. They always know exactly what they want. And it's really weird how unweird it becomes to sit for like 45 minutes making different grunts according to the direction of the director. But yeah, it has to be detailed. And I remember particularly with the horse riding, which some of you may have seen in the last DLC, there's different ways to grunt while you're riding a horse, it turns out. And we found all of them. But yeah, absolutely. Like with everything in the game, it's all about precision. You can't just go, oh, do some battle cries, and that'll kind of fit everything.
Yeah.
They're really strict about making it as detailed and precise as it can be. And they're right to, because then the quality of the game is better. So,
yeah.
Guys, KCD2 is a super realistic medieval game. Do you think that realism makes the game more fun for the players or more stressful for the players?
I think the stress is fun. Do you know what I mean? I think the if it's too easy, I think this. I've always said this game attracts a very certain type of person, type of demographic. You know, often people tend to be older. They tend to be more studious. They love history. They're a bit nerdy like me. And those people are looking for a challenge. They're looking for something that's a bit beyond just hitting X over and over again until you win, right? You want a challenge, you want to think, you want to be pushed and challenged. So that's what I think people relish how difficult it is. I certainly do. Like when I went, like I couldn't figure out alchemy. But then when I did, I was like, oh yeah, I feel like an absolute boss, you know. And when you get through a really difficult quest where you've had to employ all of your imagination and your tactics and strategies, like you feel like you've really achieved something. So,
was there a part of the game production that you were involved in that you found least enjoyable? I mean, we're talking all about the flowers and the good things here, but was there anything that you particularly didn't like?
The headsets can be really painful after a full day of wearing them, can't they?
Just on the ears or where? Just on the ears, right?
Yeah, like right on the temple. Like it really digs in sometimes, but that's about it.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, there was nothing genuinely, and this isn't me being, kind of PR guru, but like there was nothing that wasn't enjoyable. It was always challenging and enjoyable. The most challenging thing was the thing I was talking about earlier, which was like keeping that focus to make this character as precise as I could be. So I never didn't enjoy that, but in those sort of marathon voiceover sessions, especially I would say about 18 months ago when we were like, we didn't have the kind of momentum of the announcement to like push us through. The studio, inevitably, like with all studios, there's a sort of moment of tiredness where everyone's been working on it for a long time and you're like in the trenches, like, all together trying to get this thing forward and get towards certainly the announcement and then the release. There was also, I guess, a lot of pressure from the fans that they were like, is this actually going to happen? You know, this sort of, not weariness, but a sort of moment where you're really like digging in, I guess, like mile 20 of a marathon.
Yeah.
And that was when I was doing really, really long voiceover sessions. So I was going out pretty much every other week doing full 5-day, so 40 hours a week. And that was definitely the most challenging, but not unenjoyable, probably the most rewarding moment of the whole thing, actually. But it was always about going, if someone's chosen this, that's what I have to do. And I would ask for like several takes on each line and just I was like, I'm not going to stop until this is as good as it can be. And I think they got a bit sick of me sometimes, and I was like, it's not good enough, I can make it better. But they were actually, in their defense, really good about going, fine, if you need another one, let's do it. And I'm really, really, really happy that I did that at this point, because it was worth those extra hours for sure,
After those long voiceover sessions, did you find it hard to like become a person again? When you come out and just go to the pub or go to the shop and like you're still like dissociating which character are you?
A little bit. My therapy became, I used to run. There's this beautiful river that runs through the centre of Prague, and I used to run from the studio there back to where I was staying, which was about a sort of 4-mile run. And by the time I got home, I was like, okay, I'm Tom again. I'd almost like shake Henry into the river all the way home. But yeah, it was an amazing. I'll never do that again. As there aren't really any jobs where you're required to do that. But it is quite mind-bending that you're literally just inhabiting somebody else for that length of time. And also for the players, when people interact with me, and it's always like gorgeous interactions, which I really appreciate. I think it's very weird for the players because they've had your voice in their ear and they've been you. They've like inhabited you in a way that you never do on TV. And so I think there's a kind of intimacy for all of us, but like with the fans, which you don't get in other media. And I feel it here today, even looking at some of the faces that I've seen earlier, and like, you know, that connection is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my other work. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you for all being part of that.
I think one last question from me, and we're gonna go to the Q&A session. On the release day of the game, in February something, what exactly were you doing, guys?
We were signing autographs in the shops where they were selling the game in Prague, actually.
On the release day?
On the release day, yeah. And the night before, we'd had the release party, so we weren't exactly feeling our best. But we tried for the peasants, we tried. And but it was lovely, wasn't it, to do that on the release day, and like we did like a 12-hour day just signing constantly, and it was lovely.
It was sort of exactly the right thing to be doing because it was like the opposite of the days where we'd had to lie about it and pretend it wasn't happening. And we hadn't done any events like this at all. That was our first one. And to do it in Prague, specifically where the game is so rooted, and it was kind of the perfect way to spend that day, wasn't it? Actually, like face-to-face with people, just like today, talking about, and not so much talking about their experience of the game, because they hadn't played it yet, but like their experience of the first game, and just this like shared excitement where the secret was out and we could all just enjoy it and be together. It was really lovely, wasn't it? But we were quite hungover.
Here I was thinking it was actually quite stressful, you know, releasing the game, but you are actually almost like partying there. Yeah. Do you have any questions from our? Yes, please. The microphone is like right there in the middle. Shoot your questions.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, guys, you helped create an absolute masterpiece work of art, so thank you for that. You were amazing.
Thank you.
And my question is, as voice actors, and this is not specific to KCD, what is the biggest challenge when you're trying to get into the character, when you only have your voice to work with and not your face, not your body? So what's the biggest challenge there?
Do you know what? I don't know that it's so different, actually. That you go, because when I'm sat in the booth, you're only hearing the voice, but there's often times where I am being physical, especially if it's like genuine, like, you know, stuff where you're kind of exerting force. But often there were times where I just stand up and do it as if I was in the room. So it's actually not so different. And the great thing about these characters is because we played them for so long, it's literally like putting on some perfectly fitting old clothes that you love. So even if I would go away for like several months and work on another project, as soon as I came back, that character would just bubble up in my system in a way that no other character I've ever played does. So he's right there anytime I want him to be. So it's actually probably easier because of that familiarity than any other job that I've done before.
I completely agree. Hans is just like a part of me now. I can't get rid of him. He's inside me. Sorry for the image. He is, though. He's there, and it's very easy to access him. But when it comes to like emotional things that you really want to connect with, I tend to draw upon my own relationships in my own life. So with Tom and I, we have a great friendship. So it's never that hard to recreate that sense of bond that Hans and Henry have, because Tom and I have that, and it's easy.
Life has very much imitated art more and more in recent months, hasn't it? Where
really
we'll be travelling through an airport, going through a situation, it's like, well, who are we at this point? Where our behaviours are so like those two.
Do you know the opening scene, opening credits of the game, where they're trudging through the Bohemian landscapes? That's just Tom and I going to conventions.
True story.
Fantastic. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hey Tom, hey Luke. Jesus Christ be praised.
Jesus Christ be praised.
Jesus Christ be praised.
Audentes fortuna Jovan.
So I had a question about, so me personally, when I started playing the first game, and then after I'm playing the second game, I haven't played it all the way, so pretty excited to finish it. I just more likely embraced my heritage, and I embraced my culture, and I embraced my past as a noble past I had from my mom's side of the family. So I just wanted to know that the game made me so interested in history and made me even research more through even that period of time, the 15th century Bohemia and everything. And I just wanted to know if you guys gone through history or made research on your own to help you develop your character and to be in the standards of that century and to be instead of that land, that country, the Holy Roman Empire.
Before we continue, do you just say you're a noble?
Yes, I am actually.
We're in the presence of nobility here, sir.
Yes.
Jesus Christ be praised. But in terms of research, I did as much research as I could. Hans is a historical person that lived. You can go and see his grave. I've never actually done that, but I do plan on doing.
You should.
I should. And yeah, like I did the best I could, but Warhorse were really helpful in terms of giving us that and helping us along with the context in which this world is. And but yeah, it was really interesting. I didn't know a lot about Czech history, but having done this game, like it's so interesting, and it should be covered more. You know, I think Central European history is so interesting, and it's just not. It's always the same stories we hear. I feel from Hollywood, and I feel like there's definitely more out there to explore in terms of the stories.
The other thing to say is that, like, absolutely, Warhorse did the research for us. So anytime we had any questions, there was somebody there to answer them almost immediately. So that was, and they were absolutely right to be forensic about the historical side. But the flip side is that ultimately, at a certain point, you go, we're just real people in a real situation doing real things. So in spite of the historical context, the job is actually just to play a scene, really. And so once you've done that research and all that colouring in, your job is almost to forget it all and just be present. So that's why the owners sort of lay more on Warhorse than us, and they carried that responsibility brilliantly, like they do with everything. So thank you. That was a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Autentes fortuna iuvat.
Autentes fortuna iuvat.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, was it hard? I know you talked a bit about separating your character from yourself, but do you sometimes find yourself using like lines from the video game in real life when you just talk all about? You can just forget that.
Well, you know, a bad day is just a bad day.
And I do genuinely feel quite hungry all the time. True story.
I can't help it. Every time he says that he's hungry, which is often, I can't. I'm just like, oh man. Like,
But it's a good question. I mean, definitely more when we're together. Don't you think? I mean, I wasn't joking before. Those lines get blurred more when we're together. But yeah, I guess that probably more when I was in Prague, because also I would go and work those crazy long hours, but on the voiceover it would just be me. So in the performance capture you're with everyone else and it's more collaborative. But that was quite weird, and to your question earlier, where it was almost like lonely, that experience, because you're with the amazing Warhorse family, but for most of the working day you're on your own in a box, and then like going home, and it was a really like amazing challenge, but it was also quite a solitary experience, the voiceover, unlike the performance capture, which was really, really collaborative. So there were definitely moments on those long days where I was just like, who am I anymore? Am I a boy from 1403 or a man from, 2025?
Thank you so much.
No,
thank you.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Luke.
Hey.
Hello.
I have a question. What was your reaction to seeing your model in the game, especially in the first one?
It's just surreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just surreal. I mean, especially the second one. The second one really upgraded in terms of the CGI and every time they showed us a cutscene that was kind of early development, I was just mind blown. And it never stops being weird that that's you on the screen, but you're a noble from 15th century Bohemia. I'll never get over how strange that feels. But I love
it's really strange. In light of what we were talking about earlier, it's really different from seeing yourself in a TV show or whatever. It's like, it's not the same thing, but especially if you're playing it, because you're kind of interacting as that character. But in the first game, the second game was especially weird because it was realised so much more accurately, I suppose. But the first game was, for me, weirder because it was the first time I'd ever seen that, and I didn't know that was completely possible. But it was, I don't know, it was just a real privilege, actually, to play a character that gets to have your face and all that sort of. It's quite a rare and unusual thing, but it is quite weird.
I always used to apologise to the team at Warhorse because I'd go around the screens as they were working, and some of them would be working on my face, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry you have to look at that all day. I feel so terrible for you.
Well, equally, fans would often come up and apologise to me for the things that they had made me do. And And I was like, I don't know what you've made me do. You've just like, you're letting a lot out here. But, you know, because of that level of intimacy of like it being your face and your voice and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know what you've all done, so you don't have to tell me.
I mean, so talking about, thank you for the question, and talking about intimacy just popped up one question. I mean, it's going to be quite a personal question, but with the motion captures, how do you guys go to the bathroom? Do you always have to like hold the suit off, or do people actually on the behind the screen see that you're going to the bathroom?
Well, they're basically just like a sort of bodysuit that you zip.
Oh,
zip
okay.
down that
So
way.
yeah.
So, but I guess you do have to like time things.
Well, it's not a onesie. It's not a onesie.
Yeah.
It's like pants. And
Oh,
a
okay.
top.
So okay, yeah,
So you
yeah.
can, drop
Okay.
trow as
Yeah.
you would.
yeah.
First time we've answered that question.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hello. I just wanted to ask you a silly question. When you play KCD2, you sometimes hit a branch when you're riding a horse or just picking flowers. Did you have to motion capture everything by yourself? Like falling from the horse and this, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of speaks to the stunt stuff earlier. So, yeah, most of it we did do. If it was like really complex fighting, then no, someone else would do that. But I did do that, and there was all the horse riding, which we talked about before, is us just sat on like high stools. So it's sort of only comic when you see it in real time, and you go, it's just us sat on a chair that happens to be Pebbles for the day, and a lot of imagination. But yeah, that stuff, most of that we did do, because you don't really need to be a stunt rider to fall off a chair.
Yeah, I love Pebbles, but she needs to sort her shit out, doesn't she? She falls off all the time.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I basically have two questions. One, where would you say on a scene on set where you were in the motion capture, performance capture, which is a scene that you would say pushed you in an unexpected direction? And possibly even, what is your most favorite scene that you had to act out? I mean, you mentioned the For Whom the Bell Tolls, but maybe is there any other that you emotionally, actingly like the most?
I've mentioned it before, but I just love the scene where, as you mentioned earlier, the scene where they see the cannon for the first time, because historically, those characters had never seen artillery like that. So, that challenge for an actor is quite a unique one, because it's historically accurate. Like the sense of horror of knowing something awful is about to happen to you, but like, I've never seen anything like that. That was a really special thing to be able to do.
I think for me, I've said this before as well, but the real like anchors of Henry's story are born out of what happens to him at the beginning of the first game, so it's not a spoiler, but obviously his parents are both killed, and that sort of informs like everything that he does throughout the whole story, whether, however you choose to enact that revenge in the second game, whether you do it in a kind of noble way or you just let rip. It's the kind of engine that drives him forward always. So every so often throughout the first game and particularly the second game, the parents would come back as this kind of anchor. And again, I've spoken on the record about this before, but my dad died about 20 years ago, and it's not about sort of mining those experiences, but inevitably that's quite a personal thing to me. And so the sort of loss of a parent or the loss of anyone that we all know, sadly, was a real driver of everything that Henry does. And so those were in some ways the most difficult, because they're very dramatic and very difficult, but also they were like the sort of skeleton of his story, if you like. They're the thing that kind of holds him upright and moves him forwards. And so those are the sort of, the real key ones in that respect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dentist.
We still have time for 2 more questions.
Hello. So
Hey.
my question to Luke. First of all, I want to thank you very much, deeply, because I've never seen an actor interact with the fan base much like you do. It's very good.
Thank you
Even
very
the
much.
live streams. So talking about live streams, you showed your audition tapes during them, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you were auditioning for Henry, right?
That's right.
Were you jealous that he got the main role and not you?
No, because Hans is better. No, I'm kidding. No. I think it worked out for the best. I think, I wouldn't have asked for a better Henry. And I'm all right as Hans. So I think it all worked out. Yeah.
Perfect. And I have a request from Tom. Can you do the loudest? I'm quite hungry.
I can if you want to all cover your ears. I don't want to be responsible for bursting anyone's eardrum.
Let's go.
Okay. Give me a 3, 2, 1 and I'll scream.
3, 2, 1.
I feel quite hungry!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Al dente.
Yeah, so the question maybe was kind of similar before, but maybe I want to ask more like, do you both had any prior knowledge about Bohemia, its medieval times, or everything was very fresh for you when you started collaborating and making the game? And had you any like interest in history before making the game, the first part and the second part?
Hello, everyone. There's a nice light. Thank you for that question. So I had a reasonable historical knowledge of like British history, but like most countries, you just get taught your own history. I had pretty much no knowledge or understanding of Bohemian history. And in lots of ways, it's very like Wars of the Roses-esque. It's quite Game of Thrones-y, that sort of period of our history, or War of the Roses specifically. But I didn't know about it. So it was a really amazing and very enjoyable education. And as Luke said earlier, amongst the many gorgeous qualities about our fan base, intelligence and curiosity is one of the things that I think all of our fans share, and not historical curiosity. So we've sort of all gone on that journey together because, you know, it's a very niche bit of history. Czech people know it well, but not elsewhere. So that, for me, was one of the great joys of this, learning about these kind of big politics. And then, so zooming out for that, and then zooming back into Henry, because he doesn't know any of that stuff. He's he's like a kid that is not that literate from a provincial town. But objectively, it was an amazing thing to learn, and yeah, a real joy of the whole experience.
And do you think the thing that changed in you when making the game? Did something change after making the game? Did you learn something, or you stayed the same? Because it takes quite time, yeah.
Huge changes on so many fronts in terms of my knowledge and understanding of the gaming world, engaging with this incredible community that I didn't know existed. You know, my understanding of like what you can do technically and what creatively and as an actor you can be asked of you. Didn't know about any of that. And then also just the people that we were working with, like including the actors, of course, and Warhorse. The depth of that connection and that working relationship is not like anything I've had before. So it's changed me massively, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely changed my whole life. Like I've changed my career now. I'm back acting again. I've made like lifelong friends. I'm moving to Prague, so that's a big change as well. Because I love it so much, and I've fallen in love with the Czech Republic like so much. So yeah, it's changed everything completely.
Thank you.
And one last question, quickly.
Hello.
Hey.
Jesus Christ be
Jesus
praised.
Christ,
Jesus Christ be praised.
I have a question for both of you. So what was the most enjoyable scene for both of you to perform or act out in both KCD1 and KCD2?
Wow, I think the bathhouse in the first game was fun for us. For sure.
Yeah, the bathhouse, and also there's a monastery side quest in the first game, which is like pushing the boundaries of like ridiculous humour.
Yeah.
And when we did the first game, we thought it was funny, but we were like, what if no one else finds it funny at all? And I think they sort of located the humour of the fans with that quest. Like a lot of people really went with it, and that shares the same humour as the bathhouse. It was the same sort of vibe of like silly, playful, unboundaried fun. And the second game, I would say, definitely anything that involves Henry and Hans, which is just like the single most fun thing for me in terms of enjoyment. But then also as this cast of characters came in, many of whom you will know who played the game, it just kind of dialed up the fun, because the thing that underpins the whole relationship of that group is fun and camaraderie. And so when you have a lot of people on the performance capture stage, which is not common, sometimes it's just two of you or even just you on your own, that was really fun. It's sort of the opposite end of the voiceover experience where you're on your own, where you go, there might be like 8 or 9 of you and you're all in these ridiculous suits having a good time. And I really enjoyed those days.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think the second game, I really also loved the stuff in the prologue. I really enjoyed shooting that stuff because it was so, I don't know, I just feel like they really nailed that prologue and setting the story up. So the bits where we're like crouched down looking for the girls and telling him to shut the fuck up and like
swimming.
I love that stuff. The swimming, yeah.
Swimming.
The swimming. Like I love the prologue shoot. Yeah, I think it's the best way to set up a game.
Thank you so much. Audentes Fortuna
Juva. Fantastic. So that's going to wrap things up, I guess,
Thank
right?
you so much, everyone.
Yep. So ladies and gents, give a round of applause. Tom McKay and Luke Dale.
Thank you all so much.
KCD2.